Hey, Hawken with Topdon. Today we're going to do a video on programming a new TCM on a 2015 Chevrolet Impala. We're going to use the Rlink Lite today to program this and a Topdon Tornado 120. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is log into the Rlink software and make sure that it is fully updated. So we're just checking to make sure we don't need a firmware update, and we're making sure we have the GM driver installed. After that, we're going to go and find our web browser, whichever one we're going to use that GM recommends or approves, and we're going to right-click on the browser, and we're going to run that browser as an administrator. At which point, it's going to launch the browser. Then we're going to go to AC Delco TDS.com. We're going to log into our account, and then we are going to make sure that we have either already purchased a subscription for the VIN for programming, or we are going to purchase a new subscription for the VIN for programming. You see here I have one VIN available. Otherwise, we can purchase one slot at a time using the SPS2 menu. We're then going to go down to Add VIN to launch Techline Connect. And when we do that, we're going to launch it as an administrator. As you see, I switch the radio button. And at that point, it's going to launch Techline Connect. And Techline Connect will take a little bit of time to boot. If it is in need of an update, it's going to launch an update screen like you're going to see here. You also need to make sure that you have Java and your web browser fully updated when you use this particular software. Java is an ancillary software you do have to download separately and install just to make sure that it is going to allow the program to run. Once we have installed Java, and we have done all of this, once the update completes here, then we can go ahead and get into the actual programming itself. So we'll just give it a moment here. Sometimes this takes a little bit of time to complete this particular task. And you can see here there's actually a secondary progress bar that I didn't have showing. And I'm actually using dual monitors in this particular case, so that's why it was not on the screen. So be careful if you're using dual monitors. Sometimes boxes you need to click on might not appear on your main screen. So just make sure you're paying attention to that. Now Techline Connect is going to launch. You're going to see here that I'm going to drag the window up into the field of view. There it is. I'm going to maximize the software here. And then when we get into Techline Connect, we're going to connect to the vehicle, hitting the Connect Vehicle button here. Then we're going to select our Rlink, and we're going to hit Continue after we do that. And eventually the little box will disappear. And there we go. Now we're going to need to make sure we select, after it pulls the VIN here, you're going to see 2015 Impala LTZ. We're going to go to SPS2 on the left side of the menu. And when we go to connect to the vehicle, it's going to ask us if we want to reprogram or we want to replace and reprogram a given module. So that's in the top right here. You want to make sure you hit replace and reprogram if it's a new module. If you're updating the software, then you want to use reprogram. Then we're going to hit the next button in the bottom right. And we'll give it a moment here. And we need to scroll down and find the module we want to program, which will be the TCM or transmission control module in this case. Once we've chosen that, we're going to choose normal programming and we're going to hit next. Once we do that, the software will talk to the module. We have to approve that we're going to use one of our VIN license slots. The software will talk to the module and acquire the calibrations that are currently in the module. In this particular case, it's a blank module since it's a new module. And so we will need to write all new calibrations. The software is going to ask us to choose our VCI again. We'll just choose our Rlink again. And now it's going to do the handshake with the tool and the car and the software. Once it does this, it's going to read the calibrations that are currently in the module. And we can generate a nice PDF report to show what the current calibrations are. This is good for documentation purposes. So we're going to go down to We're going to show you here the calibrations are all checked in the top left. And once we do that, then we're going to go ahead and hit next. And now you can see there's no calibration recognized in the module, indicating it's blank. And it shows we have selected the 3 newest calibrations there. We're going to make a little PDF here for documentation, just showing the before we programmed it. That way we have this in case there is any question as to whether or not we did the proper programming. So here's our pre-programming PDF, and we'll save it and we'll show you what that looks like. And there it is. So basically this document will show us whatever calibrations are in the module before we flash it, and then what we are planning to flash it with. So it's blank right now, so we're going to go ahead and hit program. And at this point, I'll pause the video and speed this up, as of course, programming can take a variable amount of time, and you don't need to sit here and watch the progress bar. So we'll pause here, and then we'll continue when it's done. Okay, so it's done reflashing the module or flashing the module with the calibrations for the first time. So now we're going to go ahead here as it completes the process, and we're going to continue on to the next phase. So we're going to get a warranty code like this that's going to show that we successfully did the programming. This is important for documentation purposes. Some remanufacturers also require this. If you purchase a component from them, they may require this documentation information, so I always recommend taking a screenshot of this page and or printing or saving this in a PDF format. So next we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit proceed as the same VIN. I actually like to go back and check the calibrations to make sure they wrote properly. Sometimes with GM software, you run into issues where it did not successfully write the calibration, even though it said it did. So what I found is if you go proceed as the same VIN, sometimes when you go back into the same module to flash it, it will show you the calibrations were successfully written. Sometimes you actually have to back out to the vehicle selection page, or should I say the module selection page, and reinitiate the programming kind of from step 1 in order to see that the programming calibrations were successfully written. So you're going to see here, I'm going to select the TCM again. I'm going to do next. And when I first do this from the screen, you're going to see it still shows like the calibrations were not written. So see, it's still showing unrecognized calibration. Now here, we might be concerned that it didn't write the calibrations. So what we're going to do is go back out to this screen. We're going to do reprogram this time instead of replace and reprogram, since we think we calibrated or programmed it already. So we're going to go back in, reinitiate the whole handshake process, go right back into the TCM like this. And once we've done that, it's going to reping the module, and it's going to check to see if the calibrations are current or not. So you see here, it's reacquiring all the vehicle data. I think it's a data caching problem with Techline Connect. I don't know that for sure, but that's my theory. So here, once it pings the controller and asks it what it has for calibrations, we'll hit the next button here. And you can see the calibration current versus the selected all show identical. So the calibration / programming was all successful. So now we're going to create a report showing the post-scan calibrations report and save that for documentation. And at this point, we're all done with the programming. So the next step will be performing any necessary relearns. This particular vehicle has a 6T70 transmission. So we're just going to take you through where you can find service information. If you are a DIY, you can use the DIY services or GM. If you are a professional, you can use the professional services, which I have listed here in the slide. So any of those services will have your service information procedure. These are the other final requirements we want to keep in mind before we perform any necessary relearns and the final drive procedure. So thanks again for watching, and we hope to see you on the next video.